Good evening, Chef.
Hey, Don and Elizabeth. I barely have 5:30. We'll wait a couple of seconds. Yvonne. There's Caitlin's forehead. Okay, I got 5:31. So we waited a minute. Let's jump in here. So I realized something maybe a few hours ago, earlier today, I realized something, and that is there is not a lab today for this week. If you've been current and you're keeping up with everything, there is a knife skills test this week. And so you get into Blackboard and you look at what's the lab assignment for this week. There is no lab this week because of the knife skills test. But if you've picked up stuff from the culinary school for your knife skills test, you probably, who has? You can just say, okay, I'm not going to go through a whole list of stuff. Did the supplies you picked up include pasta?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Caitlin, no. Dawn, no.
No, Chef.
Yes. In the beginning, I had it all messed up and I grabbed the wrong ingredients and she told me.
What was messed up and you got the wrong ingredients?
The paper was wrong. That was taped on there, but the stuff on the cart was right.
Okay.
So like, yeah.
But yours included pasta.
Yes, mine did. I had to wait around until she asked you.
Okay. Did so Caitlin and Donnie, did y'all get I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now. Did y'all get carrots?
Yes, Chef. I got carrots, lemon, celery, onion, tomato, some spinach. I got shrimp. I got a salmon patty. I got potatoes.
You got food too.
They had it marked food one on there. I don't know.
So many people going in and out. Okay. Well, all right. Let me hide for a minute and go. I'm gonna check here real quick. Stand by. Okay, among the stuff that everybody picked up, do you have 2 carrots?
Yes.
All right. That's good. Do you have an onion? Okay. Okay. Who has not done the knife skills test yet? Have not? Have not? Caitlin, have you already done it? You have not? Okay. Yvonne, I can't see you one way or the other, so I don't know if you have or have not. I'm gonna give you a little piece of instruction right now, and I'm gonna go in because I've got Blackboard up in the background and take care of one thing as we speak. So one part, so you're gonna have 4 cuts instead of 5. So Blackboard is gonna read cut 1, and then you're gonna do cut 3, cut 4, cut 5 of knife skills test number 2, okay? If you happen to have 3 carrots, that'd be ideal. Donnie, you do? You got 3 carrots? That's even best.
Yeah,
Okay?
Chef, I do.
3 of those cuts are with carrot. Your first cut is with half an onion. If you have that, I'm assuming nobody picked up an orange. Okay. So Don, you can do the same thing with lemon. I won't take away cut number 2 because that's segmenting citrus fruit. Okay. We're kind of sort of in the same place, but we're in a different place. The only graded thing from a practical hands-on standpoint this week, the only graded thing is this knife skills test number 2. And so half an onion, citrus fruit, and 3 carrots. Because it is a knife skills test, we are not going to do that together. Does that make sense? That should make sense. Okay. Oh, look, you got an orange or a grapefruit. I can't tell.
I got a grapefruit, Chef,
That's
and a lemon.
grapefruit's actually going to be a little bit easier maybe because it's just bigger to handle. Okay. So anyway, because it's knife skills test, and there is no other lab for this week, y'all get to relax for a minute, and we're gonna go a different direction. Okay, and we're gonna learn something a little bit together. We're gonna talk about some kitchen math, and I'm gonna use the whiteboard feature of Zoom. And this will only be the 3rd time ever since Zoom has been in existence that I've used this whiteboard thing. And the first 2 times were dismal failures. So let's all just take a moment and say a prayer to yourself. And let's hope this works. So bear with me just a minute. Well, before we do this, let me give you maybe a little bit of context for the kitchen math that we're doing, why we're doing this, and the importance of this kitchen math. Why we're doing it, because most recipes today out of a cookbook You know, here's just one sitting on my desk. Here's in fact, we may keep these open. We might use one or two of these. Mom's lentil loaf. I don't know if that sounds really good. Recipes are generally written for 4 to 12 servings. Recipes you're going to download off the internet, recipes in a cookbook, and that's all good and well and fine if you're cooking for your family. If you're cooking for a couple of business people, or you've got some guests over and you're cooking for a dozen people. Okay. Now, if you're cooking at home and you're gonna have a party of 20 people, and you pull up a recipe that you really like, family recipe, and it's written for 12, what are you probably gonna do? How are you gonna get 20 servings out of the recipe for 12?
You're gonna multiply the recipe by 0.75.
Where you get 0.75?
Well, you're adding 8 to 12, so that'd be actually by 0.66 because it's 2/3 of the full number. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I can see it in my head. I just can't explain. Okay.
So here's my very first venture into graduate school was at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, and it was in religious education. I was a chaplain candidate for the United States Army, and I had a professor who loved to ask us questions that we had absolutely no idea what the answer was, and we would venture an answer, and he broke both of his pinkies at one time in his life, and they wouldn't straighten up, and he would sit here like this and put his two bent pinkies together, and yes, Don, I see what you're thinking. I see what you're thinking. It's just wrong. That's all. And so we'll correct it. Another approach that most of us just kind of do is number one, if I'm going to do this recipe for a party, it's probably because I like it. And if it's written for 12 and it's the party is for 20, I want to make sure I have plenty, and I might want leftovers for tomorrow. And so I'm going to double it, because 24 servings is going to easily cover my 20. Do we do that sometimes? Yeah. Bad news bears. Bad news bears. Slap on the hand. After tonight, we're never going to do that ever again. Professionally, you have to understand this. And I know maybe having not worked in the business or not worked in the industry in certain positions, we in the food service industry, it doesn't matter if you're in a quick service restaurant like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or an Arby's, or if you're in a ultra fine dining, like familiar with it, but Salt Lake City, up in the mountains around Snowbird Ski Resort is Rhino Grill. I mean, filet mignon plate is about $125, and you know, with drinks, you're going to drop, just on a date, you're going to drop $600 or $700. You know, for an appetizer, an entree, a dessert, a few drinks, easy $600-700. Well, even those kind of restaurants and the McDonald's, and then everywhere in between, like the Chili's and the TGI Fridays, the casual dining restaurants, we live and die on pennies. So much so that I thought I had one out here somewhere. You know those You all have them in your knife kits. Those red handled, white headed silicone spatulas, the rubber spatula. To use those things to scrape out every last drop of the gallon size mayonnaise bottle, to get every little drop of mayonnaise. Those are servings. Those are pennies. And our profit margin in all of food service combined, our profit margin is an average of 4%. Meaning we only keep, of the dollar that we take in, we only get to keep 4 pennies. And so this is a tough business, and we need to manage every little penny. Because of that, one of the first math skills, and it's really the only one we focus on in this class. Baking and pastry, you learn how to scale things with baker's percents and just different approaches. We scale a recipe based on serving sizes using a recipe conversion factor, RCF. And that's the first great hurdle, figuring a recipe conversion factor. Let me see if I can pull up this whiteboard now. Let's see what happens. Oh, do y'all see a whiteboard? Do you see a white screen?
Yes, Chef.
So if I type something up here, do y'all see? Do you see? Do y'all see N divided by O equals RCF?
Yes, Chef.
Good. Write that on a sticky note and put it on your forehead. Write that on a sticky note and put it on a mirror. Write that, put it right in the center of your TV screen. Put that on your textbook. This is the equation that will become your best friend when it comes to just basic everyday scaling a recipe. This means new yield divided by old yield equals recipe conversion factor. Got it? New yield divided by
Yes, sir.
old yield equals recipe conversion factor. Conversion factor. How's that? How's this? There. Okay. We'll get there eventually. Hey, you know, I got fat fingers too. Or, you know, just like y'all writing the essays and stuff, we have to go back and correct, and there you go. New yield is, so we're going to call that desired number of servings. Let's see if we can make that a little bigger. Divided by the old yield. We're going to call that the written or original number of servings. So here's how this looks. To use this example of you pulled up a family recipe that's written for 12 servings, and you want to use that recipe for your Saturday evening party of 20. So just based on that example, 20 is your new yield, right? 20 is the desired amount servings for this recipe. Your your written or your old serving size was 12. So if you've got a phone nearby, somebody get your phone out. And so Dawn's on it right now. What would the recipe conversion factor be?
1.66666666.
So we'll stop at the hundredths because we're also in the habit of going 2 places past the decimal as we think this way for money, and we're not really going to measure any smaller than that. Okay, so there you go. Either 1.66 or we'll round it 1.67. That's the recipe conversion factor. Okay. I'm going to say this over and over again, but do we understand where we are right now? Does this make sense?
Yes, chef.
Good. All right. Good. Elizabeth, you with us? Thumbs up.
Yes, chef.
Happy days. Okay. Now, what do we do with this stinking recipe conversion factor? What do we do with this 1.67 number? We figured that out. Lottie frickin' da. What is that? What is that for?
You multiply it for the ingredient, so like 6 ounces versus 1.67.
Correct. So I'm going to put next to here. Is that right? Did I spell that right? I probably didn't spell that right, did I? Like for multiplication. The 1.67 is your multiplier. Should that be an I? Does that look right? Zoom doesn't give me a spell check, so I don't know. We're winging it here. Your recipe conversion factor is your multiplier. So exactly what Latoya just said. Now you go through each ingredient on that original recipe that was written for 12 servings. And if you have 6 ounces of garlic, 6 ounces times 1.67 gives you the new amount, the new yield of garlic that you'll need for the larger recipe. Let's stop there. Let that sink in. While I fix my chair. Okay. After that's let that simmer just a little bit. What do you think of that? Any confusion? Any questions?
Yes, but I think we're going to get to it next, so I'll hold off.
Go ahead. Go to we might not.
So to do the reverse, if we're going smaller on the recipe, are we going through that next?
We're going to do that next. So stand by. Very good.
Yay!
Carry on. I'll be in the area. Who spoke up that I just talked over?
I was saying yay because that was also my question.
Yeah, if it's a large volume recipe and we want to do it for little, yeah, we're going to come to that in a second.
Yes, sir.
But first, let's maybe do a little exercise. I don't know if we can, because you just see this whiteboard, don't you?
We can see you, chef.
Huh?
I said we could see you as well.
Yeah, but I would have to unshare my screen and share my screen again to pull up a recipe that we all just worked through together. I think the homework that y'all have starting with last week going forward it really just hits this stuff. Okay. Now, I believe, y'all don't hold me to this and hang me if I'm wrong, but I believe for the rest of this semester in this class, we are only working with recipes of smaller yield that are written for a smaller amount, and we're scaling them up to larger yield. Exactly this that we see right here. So, you know, an event for 20, but the recipe was written for 12, recipe conversion factor, just like this. Okay. And that's because most of what we're going to do in this industry, you know, in a fine dining restaurant, you might pull up grandma's recipe. It's some of what makes fine dining is perfect execution of the cooking methods or plate presentation. Well, if grandma's meatloaf, which is not the best of examples, but if grandma's meatloaf is, you know, if her meatloaf hung the moon and you want to do that for an event, it's pretty unlikely that grandma wrote her meatloaf recipe for 172 people, right? So this is the way we are frequently, the vast majority of the time, we're scaling from 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 servings, scaling it up to whatever, okay? Before we go the other direction, let me go back just a little bit to emphasize again, re-emphasize, and I'll do it again, and I'll do it again. The need for us to be precise and not do a whole lot of assumptive guessing. Like the example I used earlier, if we have a recipe for 12, we're serving 20 people, well, sitting at home, I might just double the recipe because it's good eats and I want to make sure we have enough. Okay. If you're doing a party, let's say 172 people, that's your guest count. If you're a caterer, you will have your own standard. Do you prepare, and hopefully if you're an independent caterer, you will have this established by contract. You will prepare 3% over the guest count or 5% over the guest count, whatever the case may be. But if you have a recipe written for 12 people and you're going to use that recipe for an event, perfect example. I was the culinary director at the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute up on Pettigee Mountain. And Lizanne Rockefeller was hosting a bridal event. And of all things, she wanted me to prepare her family tuna salad. Well, her family tuna salad is written for 8 servings. And we had like 93 people or something like that. So still, I wrote a little bit over. I prepared it for 100 servings. I prepared 100 servings. Okay. We don't want to guess on, well, there's this much tuna in the can and I don't want to save any leftovers. But, you know, again, our business is based on pennies, right? So recipe written for 8. I did it for 100. Somebody tell me what that recipe conversion factor would be.
$12.5.
Anybody disagree? Is that right on? I didn't get my calculator out, so okay, I get some thumbs up. 12.5. So then I go back through her original recipe and each ingredient, the amounts listed times 12.5. Tuna times 12.5. Eggs times 12.5. Mayo times 12.5. Relish times 12.5. Onions times 12.5. Celery times 12.5. You get the idea. That is the recipe. We make just that because we can't afford waste. Overproduction is waste. Overproduction is pennies, because overproduction are servings that you don't get paid for. You get paid for the 100 servings. Does that make sense? A little bit?
Yes,
All
Chef.
right. So now let's look at maybe we approach this from a different way. Latoya works in correct me if I'm wrong, Latoya, you work in healthcare, right? Aren't you in a skilled nursing, a care center,
Assisted living.
assisted living? Okay.
Yes.
So in an assisted living place, we'll take that one step further to like skilled nursing or rehab center. Those are doctor prescribed diets, and they are dietitian, nutritionist endorsed, signed off recipes. And frequently in that larger commercial institutional environment, we're using recipes that are written for 100. I spent some time in the service. Dawn spent some time in the service. I bet that at least one or two others of you will probably spend a little minute in your career in healthcare, in education, working in a school. I spent a decade as the chef at the UCA, and lunch service, one meal in one part of campus, we have to prepare for 8,000-9,000 people just for that meal service. And so those are big recipes. But hey, that recipe is so good, I want to take it home and I want to make it for my family. Okay, I have a family of 5. So I'm going to cook for my family of 5. This whole idea of taking the larger recipe and shrinking it down is exactly the same math. And this formula doesn't change. You don't flip-flop anything. So it is still my new yield, in this case, is 5. Most of the recipes that we used at the University of Central Arkansas were recipes written for 240. So my old yield is 240. My new yield is 5. What's my recipe conversion factor going to be now?
0.02, Chef.
I'll give you a minute. Does everybody agree with that? Does anybody come up with something different? Does that all sound okay?
Would we not round it up at 0.0208 and not be rounded up to 0.021, or does that matter?
Let's stay at the hundredth place. So 2 places past the decimal. Let's make the rounding stop there. So was it 0.020 blah blah blah? Then let's stick with 0.02. If it was 0.028, yeah, we would probably want to round that up to 0.03, just to be more precise. But here we go. It's all exactly the same method now. I go to my tuna fish that's written for 240 servings, and now multiply the amounts of each ingredient by 0.02. And understanding basic math before we even plug those in, that's going to shrink those numbers down considerably. Now, what do you do if you end up with 0.5 egg? What do you do if you end up with, you know, seemingly these little teeny tiny minuscule amounts of an ingredient?
Don't you weigh it and go by the ounces? So like we mixed 1 egg and then we weighed the egg and then we divided it. That was in baking.
So in baking, you absolutely, you learn that's to be the most precise. Weight is the only way you can be truly precise and consistent if a recipe is written by weight. Because think about this for a minute. If you measure out 1 cup of flour, all-purpose flour, you stick your scoop in your dish of flour on your countertop, and then you scoop out another cup of flour. Are those 2 cups of flour exactly identical?
No,
You telling me that 1 cup is not equal to 1 cup?
no, when we tried it, like we experimented with it, I think it gets coated or something, but that's why we put it in the bowls and we put it in that same bowl and tiered it and then did it again.
See, you're gonna clump. Maybe you've got a little extra air in this measure if you're measuring by volume, right? But even
Correct.
liquid, if you measure by weight, 10 ounces of flour and then another measure of 10 ounces of flour. Does 10 ounces of flour and 10 ounces of flour exactly equal each other?
Yes, sir.
Exactly right. Whereas 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of flour are not exactly identical. Now, we get into some other higher level thinking and problem solving than we're going to worry about in this class, in Food Production 1. We're going to play with these concepts in Food Production 2 because this is an issue that we deal with. The rest of this semester, the kitchen math that you have left to do is just dealing with what we've talked about here, what you see in front of you on the screen. Okay. And so let's go back to, what did we do before? We had 20. And then we have 12. And what was that? 1.67?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is the recording of today's Zoom, when I put it up in Blackboard, I'm going to include just this, the whiteboard screen. It'll be just a graphic image. Is this enough for if you were to go back and see just this? Is that enough to jog your memory? Do we understand what's happening here with this? Or do we need to do something different? Are we all good? We're all clear. Donnie gives me the thumbs up. All clear? Good, good.
Yes, sir.
So what questions are there? What else do we need to understand about scaling these recipes, the recipe conversion factor? Really, the last step is going to be that final measure of a particular ingredient. If we're scaling up to a large volume and we say, if I say you need which is easier to measure, 16 cups of milk, measuring out a cup at a time, or 1 gallon of milk?
1 gallon, Chef.
That's easier, and putting that measure in the largest denominator possible leaves less room for error with the operator, with the cook that's executing the recipe. If you say measure 8 tablespoons of lemon juice, well, there's a lot of room for error to say 8 tablespoons of lemon juice. But if you know, and this is why, here's some context. This is why I had you at the beginning of the semester find and upload just a usable kitchen conversion chart. Now you may go back to that kitchen conversion chart, or you may find another one. And when I have a recipe that I've scaled and it says 8 tablespoons of lemon juice, well, let's see. 4 tablespoons equals a quarter cup. 4, 8, 2 quarter cups is a half a cup. You see where I'm going? Wouldn't it be better? Would there be less confusion? Would there be less of a chance of a mistake if I tell my cook this recipe gets a half a cup of lemon juice versus 8 tablespoons of lemon juice? You see what I'm thinking? Especially with large volume, you know, I've been in kitchens, I've worked in kitchens that are supposed to be, quiet. You are just hyper focused on what you're doing. And, you know, it's a certain professional setting. Okay, fine. But I really have had fun working in kitchens where we're working, we're being productive, the work doesn't stop. And, you know, we can talk about who's going skiing this weekend or who's playing. Are you watching the game? Blah, blah, blah. You kind of carry on a conversation. Can you imagine carrying on a conversation and you're measuring out 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons? If you're me and a couple of servers walk by while I'm counting to myself 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, 4 tablespoons, 5 tablespoons, and then somebody says, you know, I got gypped my tip. I should have got at least $2 a tip. And now I just suddenly heard that too. And now I'm completely lost in, did I just say 5 or was it 4 or 2? And then I end up pouring all the lemon juice back in and starting all over again. See how it could be a waste of time. It could be a waste of product, and how easy it would be to just say half cup instead of 8 tablespoons. We don't have an assignment that gets us to that point yet. Right now, I think last week's math assignment was really putting everything we've done together to do this recipe conversion factor in front of you. Now, the next couple of math assignments is basically just practice of this. And then you're going to find your own recipes, maybe a family recipe. And I think the last time we do this, I asked you to put up a favorite recipe. And all I want is the ingredients. I'm doing this for the math thing. I don't care if you give me the whole recipe. I'm not after the directions or anything like that. I'm just after the ingredient list. I'm after the measures for each ingredient. I'm after the yield. That recipe is written for 5 or 8 or whatever. And then in the math assignment, I give you a specific count. I want you to scale that recipe, your favorite recipe, scale it to a particular number, and you'll do the math. That for our class, that's one of the most time consuming homework assignments I have you do, because same for the in-person class, they have to do the same stuff. And when I have you post your own recipe, I have to go back and physically do everybody's math for all the ingredient items times 59 students, I think. So that's one of those homework assignments that as a teacher, I ask myself, why in the world do I do this? What questions? Is there confusion? Clear as mud?
Clearer than mud?
Is it as clear as mud? You never heard
Oh,
that before?
No, it's clearer than mud.
It's
I
clearer
guess.
than mud. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Did the whiteboard go away? It went away from me. Okay, good. All right. I'm gonna fix there. I think I know what's going on downstairs, and I'm gonna make sure that that's fixed tomorrow. I can assure you it is fixed tomorrow, so that we won't have confusion over who got pasta. Elizabeth, you got pasta?
I
in your
did.
pickup?
I got
Okay.
pasta.
Yvonne got pasta, Latoya got pasta, but Dawn did not get pasta. Caitlin did not get pasta. And it sounds like maybe sheets were mixed up or messed up or whatever.
Yes, like 3 different sheets on top of the cart, and one of them was taped, and it was a very old one.
Yeah. I know what's happening. I can fix it. Can. Okay. You got knife skills test. You have this kitchen math, and you have this is the next to the last Yes Chef video series. If you haven't seen this one yet, the one for this week with Chef Cynthia East. Cindy is now the food and beverage manager for the Saracen Casino. She has some incredibly great insights. As a woman chef. How many of you have heard that, have seen that video yet this week? Have you already looked at it? No? She talks a little bit about sexual harassment, but she also talks about technology. I really dig the technology piece, and I appreciate what she has to say about sexual harassment. Y'all, this is a problem in our industry. It's a problem in so many industries, but industry-wide, I feel like I've been very fortunate, and I've been blessed to work in very professional kitchens, even as a young budding culinarian. But industry-wide, it is as if harassment laws don't apply to those of us that work in a kitchen. Yes, we work in very tight quarters. Sometimes the kitchens are very small, but that doesn't that shouldn't give allowance for anything inappropriate in a kitchen. And until recently, until the last few years, it's just been ignored and overlooked and ignored. And now we're seeing high profile chefs. John Besh You ever heard that name? John Besh was a big, big name out of New Orleans. And his career is gone. His restaurant empire is devastated, is destroyed because of his behavior and what he allowed for years and years. You've heard of the name Mario Batali, Food Network
Yes,
personality?
chef.
Done. And he is still facing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Anyway, I don't want to belabor that issue, but I, for one, take it very seriously, and was really glad that Cindy mentioned that. You know, with these videos, you're seeing an edited version. You don't hear my questions or our is really a conversation, and I've just edited out the really good stuff that these chefs have to say. Speaking of that, I will go ahead and give you an advanced warning for your last Yes Chef video, and that will be with Chef Andre Perot. He's the executive chef at the Clinton Library. And for some, he's going to be a little bit difficult to understand, maybe. Andre is from France. He'll tell you where he's from. But from beginning to end, there's very little of that I edited. Kind of like me, Andre likes to talk. And I asked him a couple of questions, and he just started and talking about his career. Anyway, I think that's about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15-minute video. And it is just plumb full of goodness. And so know that that's coming. It's a long one, but it's really great stuff. Next week is week 9. I'll go ahead and give you an advance notice on this as well. You can start thinking about this. Week 13 is Food One's oral presentation. You will have to do an oral presentation. We changed the oral presentation a few years ago. We used to have a class here called Breakfast Cookery. And because of degree changes and degree requirement changes from the university, as well as accrediting requirements from the American Culinary Federation, we had to get rid of breakfast cookery, but we still have to teach certain breakfast competencies throughout your culinary degree program. And so we can't take away the oral presentation, but we also can't add a week to school. And so week 13 will be breakfast cookery. And in our class, we're going to learn to do eggs 3 different ways. You're going to do eggs 3 ways, but in that same week will be do your oral presentation. And I have directions, pretty clear directions. In semesters past, 1 or 2, 50, 60 people generally don't have an issue with this. And I'm always available. We can talk about any technology issues you might have. I give you directions for video recording your oral presentation using Zoom. So you all are here, you have Zoom, and I give you directions on what to do, and you do your oral presentation. You can have your family on the other side of your computer or your camera if you want. You can sit in your bathroom and be in the total privacy. You got to be in your uniform. So that's all I have to say about that. Next week, one of your assignments is to give me a few sentences about a topic that you want to do an oral presentation on. Your oral presentation will be roughly about 7 or 8 minutes. If you get down in the 4 and 5 minute mark, there's some points knocked off. If you talk more than 9 or 10 minutes, there's some points knocked off. The purpose of this oral presentation is to prepare you for a future time in your culinary careers. You will have to, Latoya has one already, feeding the medically frail. Love it. Like to see what direction that goes. Your topic is anything of your choosing that is of culinary interest. So I'll probably repeat all this again next week, but repetition is a key to learning. So that should be all right. Maybe do an oral presentation on a particular ingredient. Chocolate. Why we use chilies. Shrimp, the cockroach of the ocean. You ever heard that? Shrimp is the cockroach of the sea. Well, there's something you can learn about. Maybe you want to do a presentation on something geographic. What's the difference between Mexican cuisine and Spanish cuisine? Aha, they're different. Maybe you want to look at the Italian food down in the coast, Italian food up in the Piedmont Mountains. Is there a difference? Maybe you want to do something out of culinary history. You use your textbook even. What have you learned about Antoine Carême? What have you learned, or what more would you want to know about Auguste Escoffier? The brigade system. Where did our chef coat come from? Why does a chef wear a toque? That big old tall hat. Maybe you want to do an oral presentation on the rise of a particular restaurant. Where'd McDonald's come from? Why all these fast food restaurants? Maybe you want to do an oral presentation on a particular movement, a fad in food. South Beach diet, the blue zone people and those diets. Culinary CBD, that's becoming a thing. You know, really the sky is the limit. And I've heard now over the years, certainly not everything. The world is a big, big world, and there's thousands of years of history, but some very, very interesting. Y'all come up with great stuff. To me, the hardest part of this entire oral presentation is I don't assign you a topic. Next week, you're pitching your topic, and I give it the thumbs up, the check mark, or maybe suggest, is that really culinary related? You know, if you want to do an oral presentation on the snacks available at your local Lowe's, come on, we can do better than that. That make sense? Maybe. Okay, that's coming up next week. Good luck on your knife skills exams, even though everybody got different stuff. So I'm not going to get into what the pasta was for or what other stuff was for, because apparently I don't know what everybody picked up. As long as you have some carrots, as long as you have a little citrus fruit, as long as you have half an onion, you are golden for this knife skills exam. I did post. I did it earlier today, just to be consistent with the in-person classes. I posted a couple of recipes and a little video. Not me, I curated the video from YouTube, but it's a pretty good video about emulsions and making an emulsified vinaigrette. And the in-person classes this week had their knife skills exam also. And we used that product from the knife skills exams. I showed how to do a vinaigrette, and I had already boiled some pasta, and everybody got to make a pasta salad. So Elizabeth's pasta, Latoya's pasta, and if you got pasta, you should have gotten a lot of little other odds and ends like an egg, and you got some red wine vinegar and some white wine vinegar, little bits of that stuff, then there you go. If I'm not telling y'all have to come back to the culinary school, but if you want those groceries, come back to the culinary school, because I'm going to get on a couple of folks and erase what's in there, so they get it right next week. Don?
What do you suggest I do with the salmon fillet and shrimp?
That, put it in the freezer. Enjoy some salmon, enjoy some shrimp. I mean, it's a little bit, but that came off of, that's even more crazy to me, because that came off the Food Production 2 cart. This week is poach. And so Food 2, poached salmon and poached shrimp. So you got a little advanced look at next semester's Food 2. Food 2, week 8, you're going to poach salmon and shrimp. You got it, keep it.
I may just kind of throw something together with what I have from the
Grill it.
pantry and
Play with
saute
it.
it. I got orange juice, garlic, horseradish. So I'll play with it and see what I can do.
Great. All right. Anything else from the peanut gallery? Good luck on your exam. Have a
Thanks,
good
Chef.
night.
Thank you, Chef.
Bye-bye.